Okay, so Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone. Today we are going to do the revision for chapter 6, and today is the last session of the year. So I hope you are all ready for the revision. So before we begin, let me say the prayers to Guru and God. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalake Chakshurum Militamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So let's start the revision of chapter 6. If you are not able to answer, just let us know. We can always find somebody to help. Okay, so the first question, what are the 6 conditions we need to fulfill in order to have fully surrendered and received the grace of God? Tipaliji, you want to answer that?
Yes, Guruji. Hare Krishna. Yeah, so in this question, it's actually the full gist of chapter 6 that is covered. Dhyan Yoga is condensed in these 6 conditions that Guruji has requested me to list down in order to have fully surrendered and received God's grace. Now we have learned about samatvam, that is control our mind in all situations and remain calm at all times in pleasure and pain, ups and downs. Only then we will be able to progress spiritually. We need to remember to perform Nishkam Karma Yoga and develop devotion. And all of this possible only if we have control over our mind. And devotional surrender to God is elaborated below in these 6 conditions, which we need to fulfill in order to have fully surrendered. The first condition is our desires are aligned with the desire of God. We should always have the mindset that whatever God wants for me, I want the same for me. And our biggest desire should be of attaining God realization. The second one is we should not desire against the desire of God. We should do our best and leave the results in the hands of God and accept the final results without any doubt, questions in mind, as He knows what is best for us. The third one is we should have firm faith that God is protecting me. So whenever we are facing a tough situation and our faith is being tested, and if we are firm, we become steadfast in our faith and we start receiving His grace and He protects us at all times. I would want to share my own example. Just 2 days back, I was returning back from a marathon practice that I do twice a week, and I had parked my car. There are 3 cars parked one behind the other, and this car from the front came, and I don't know what happened to the other car. It just went and banged the car right behind me. And I just watched the whole scene and was stunned, and not a scratch. And he could have easily come and banged my car, but not a scratch to my car. And at that point of time, I felt the grace of Krishna. And this is what I want to share with you guys. Like, it happened right in front of me. And I was like, it could have damaged my car, and then everything. The work after that is a very painful one. But I was just grateful to. I could feel His grace, and then the next thing I do is when I'm driving is just thanked Him, and which is what the fourth condition is. We should have gratitude for all the graces that we receive, in whichever way, small way, big way, whatever way. But we should be always full of gratitude to Him. We take so many things for granted, and we should change our approach and be grateful for all those things, small or big, whatever it is. The fifth condition is we should not have the sense of ownership as all belongs to Him. He provides us and everything belongs to Him. This is that 3-point piece formula of Guruji. Bhuktaram yaketapasyam sarvalokam maheshwaram surudam sarvabhutanam jnanatma shanti ruchi. So this that one which Guruji has taught us. Always remember, one day we will be leaving everything behind when we die, including our body. And there's nothing that we own in this world. So we should not have the sense of ownership. And finally, when we are progressing spiritually, Maya ups her game, and that is when we should be very conscious of the same and not fall prey to her and make every effort to overcome her. So we should surrender the pride of having surrendered. Whatever spiritual progress we have made, we should always give full credit to God and leave it at that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Excellent. Thank you so much. Now, your last point, you spoke about Maya and how we should be careful. Yeah. It's very, very important, because when we progress spiritually, we run the risk of falling as well. With that perspective, I want to revisit the third item that you spoke about. I'm very happy that you are safe and you are not impacted by that crash. What you should be, or not you, all of us, what we should be careful is we should not get into this mindset that somehow we are special. We are not. Because then that creates pride in us. So God does not discriminate. He's not going to target somebody just because there is no like or dislike from God's side. At the same time, God doesn't play favorites. What is actually happening is you are aligning more towards the grace of God. But the grace of God is available to everybody. Okay, so it is not that. So sometimes, sometimes people will proudly say, God never lets me down, or God always protects me. I mean, we are not hiring God, right? I mean, so we should try to be very careful there. So your sixth point, Maya, that is how Maya again plays with your mind otherwise, because we will walk around thinking that we are a snowflake. Somehow we are very special. That hinders our progress. So whenever the thought comes, replace the thought with God is supreme, God is very impartial. And I think I am grateful to myself for aligning with His grace. And leave it at that. Okay. So thank you so much. The next question, can you explain the concept of renunciation in action rather than renunciation of action? Simranji?
Yes, Guruji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, one who performs his duties and rightful actions without depending on the fruit of the action is a true sannyasi or the renuncer. Not the one who does not handle fire, nor the one who performs no action. Sorry. The term Nangir means the one who does not handle fire, and it refers to the renounced beings who depend on ants for their living and do not cook their own food. They are not required to perform any yajnas using sacrificial fires either. Lord Krishna reiterates that the best path towards liberation and spiritual growth lies in action without expectation and not in inaction. So this stanza also epitomizes the ideal of inner or symbolic renunciation, that is renunciation in action rather than renunciation of action.
Very nice, very nice. Thank you so much. So
yeah,
the key is, we discussed earlier in chapter 3 also, we have karma, we have akarma, and we have vikarma. So vikarma is bad karma, akarma is no action at all. And Krishna explained beautifully how it is not possible. Like Arjuna was trying to work around the system. So Arjuna was like, if I don't do anything, then I cannot incur any sin. So I'll just not do anything. And Krishna says, smart try, but the universe doesn't work like that. Because it is not possible to not do anything. Because even when you are sitting and breathing, you are generating karma. When you are just sitting and thinking, you are generating karma. So that kind of akarma is not possible. But Krishna gave a very beautiful mechanism. He said, when there is action, there will be reaction. Easy to understand. And when there is no action, there will be no reaction. That is also easy to understand. Now, you cannot focus on no action, but then you can always focus on no reaction. That is the whole teaching of Nishkama Karma Yoga. Karmanya vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. When you just summarize the whole thing, this is what it means. So if you just say, I'm not interested in the reaction, I'm not focusing on the reaction at all, that is the way you achieve true inaction. That is the real meaning of what George Furston says. He says renunciation in action instead of renunciation of action. So you cannot renounce action, but you can renounce the fruit of action. So you can do action and still be a renunciate. And Krishna says that is the superior way, or that is the only way to have true inaction. And why he is talking about inaction? Because that is how you avoid further karmic accounts. Okay. What is the relationship between desires and vikarma, and how can we satisfy desires? Chitralekha ji, you want to try this?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. So desire leads to urge, which leads to vikarma. Without desire, there cannot be vikarma. In 3.36, Arjuna asked what causes humans to commit sinful activities, and Krishna responds saying, it is lust alone which is born of contact with the mode of passion and later transformed into anger. Know this as the sinful, all-devouring enemy in the world. Desires arise out of our wants. We need to differentiate between needs and wants. Needs have to be fulfilled, and wants can never be fulfilled. Wants are just endless. There is an insightful verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Najatu kamaha kamanam upabhogena sanyati, which means desire is not quenched by satisfying the desire. It only gets inflamed like fire in which butter is poured. Most of us feel that once we satisfy our desires, we can become desireless. However, that's just the game of Maya. That's the trap you should avoid. And desires only get stronger when fulfilled. Just a simple example that I thought that I remind myself consciously is one can consider the desire to buy certain brand clothing to be a very basic desire. However, one doesn't realize that this is just a form of a maze that has no ends, and therefore one clothing leads to another and gets caught up in peer societal pressures, unhealthy competition of branded attires. I see this now a lot, especially with teenagers, youngsters. The need in this case is clothing, which is very basic. And as long as good quality of clothing needs are met, one should avoid getting trapped in the branding hole. Also, one need not create an aversion, because attachment and aversion, again, we need to stay away from that as well. So we do not create aversion to any typical branded clothing. Just the intention here is to buy good quality clothing that meets the needs to protect one's body. Also, secondly, accumulation of hoarding of clothing or footwear is also a form of vikarma, as it's also guided by greed, which is another impulse that is rooting from Maya. Hare Krishna.
Nice. Very nice, very nice. Thank you. Beautifully explained. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, as they say, needs have to be fulfilled, but desires can never be fulfilled. Very, very important. And your example was very nice. Focus on clothing rather than, the social status showing off. I have Gucci and God knows what other brands. And so that you can never fulfill, because today it is Gucci, tomorrow it will be Muchi, or day after tomorrow it will be some other Chi. And it just goes on, it consumes you. And you also nicely put together this concept of hoarding. Hoarding means now the focus is not that I need to protect my body, but the focus is I need a beautiful wardrobe full of things that I'm probably not even going to wear. So because that is based on greed, not on need. And what you should understand is Krishna is not talking about morality here. Krishna is not condemning anybody. He's saying this is the science of the mind. He's saying this is how the mind works. That if you have a desire which is not based on a need, if it is based on greed, if it is a desire, and if you try to fulfill it, it is only going to grow bigger. So it's only going to create more problems for you. And the example given is fire, because fire is like a desire, and somebody trying to say, oh, let me satisfy the fire by giving it some butter is foolish, because the fire is going to consume the butter and grow bigger. Now it needs more butter. Very nice. So I had a question here for Smita. Smita, yes, but looks like she's not here. So we can take it offline. But unless somebody wants to answer that question, otherwise no big deal, we can take it offline. So how can we determine if we have achieved perfection in yoga? No problem. There are many metrics that you can follow. One of the metrics is Samadarshana, where you begin to see Krishna.
I have it in my answer when you asked me this later. Part of it, Guruji.
Okay, we will revisit it in the other question. Okay, thank you.
And I also wanted to add, Prabhuji, that achieving perfection can be with conviction and consistency.
Yeah, and it leads to oneness. You see oneness in everything. That's what I read.
Exactly. Because the definition of yoga means union with God. That is what yoga means. So, and if you are union with God, that basically means you have overcome, you have surpassed all separation. Right? So then you'll be able, that is Samadarshana. Then you will be able to see God in everything, not as a theory, but as a realization. Okay. Can you explain Krishna's message? You should raise yourself by yourself. You should not let yourself bring yourself down. For you alone are your own friend, and you alone are your own enemy. Who's going to explain this? Anika ji, you want to try this?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. So, Krishna's message resonates with the power of self-reliance and the potential that lies within each of us. He reminds us that the key to both spiritual growth and personal fulfillment lies in taking ownership of our inner world. Just as we can be our own harshest critics, we can also be our greatest allies. The path to liberation begins with recognizing that we have the strength to overcome our internal struggles, silence the doubts that hold us back, and cultivate a mindset that nurtures our growth. Our thoughts, beliefs, and intentions shape our reality. When we focus on uplifting ourselves, on aligning our minds with the highest aspirations, we become agents of our transformation. We no longer seek fulfillment in external factors, but instead tap into the boundless potential that lies within. As given in verse 2.41, O descendant of the Kurus, those who follow this path possess a firm and determined intellect with a singular and focused aim. However, those with an indecisive intellect have a multitude of conflicting thoughts and ideas. Krishna urges us to embrace the duality of our nature, to acknowledge both the light and shadow within us, and to harness this understanding to guide our minds towards wisdom and compassion. By mastering our thoughts and aligning our intentions with the true purpose, we can achieve a state of inner harmony and unlock the boundless possibilities that lie within. So to conclude, Krishna's message is a call to action, to take responsibility for our happiness, to embrace the power of self-reliance, and embark on the journey of self-discovery with unwavering determination. It is a reminder that true liberation lies not in external circumstances, but in the depths of our being.
Super. Thank you, Anika ji. Excellent answer. I'm very, very impressed with the clarity that you have. Thank you so much. Always remember, one other aspect is we discussed during the last few sessions, the teachings of Gautama Buddha, where Gautama Buddha said that all trouble, all pain is caused by two arrows. You remember that teaching? He had his own way of teaching. It's a very effective method. He says two arrows have to be there. Only then pain happens. If one of them doesn't exist, with just one arrow, you cannot have pain. So what are the two arrows? He said one arrow is what happens to you. It can be like all the different types of pain. Adi Daivik, Adhyatmik, Adi Bhautik, three kinds of pains. And he said the other arrow is how you react to it. So if nothing happens, then also you cannot have pain. But if something happens, but you refuse to react with a pain mindset, then also pain cannot happen. Such a beautiful teaching, So that is another way of explaining what Sri Krishna has explained, where Krishna said, you are your own friend and you are your own enemy. So you can feel empowered or you can feel like a victim. That choice is yours. And that is what causes pain. Ramakrishna, you probably know that Ramakrishna had throat cancer during his last final days. And throat cancer is actually a very painful disease. It's very, very painful. There are a lot of documents around it. So you cannot swallow and you cannot talk and it's constantly paining. So this is in Ramakrishna's stories is documented that one of his very young disciples, he kind of asks Ramakrishna, how are you doing? And Ramakrishna says, oh, I have throat cancer. So it's very painful. I'm in a lot of pain. But the young devotee looks at Ramakrishna and says, but looks like you are still enjoying, looks like you are still in bliss. And Ramakrishna jokingly says, this rascal actually found me. He caught me. So what the actual tathparya is, that is a teaching for humanity, that the second arrow was in Ramakrishna's control. nature threw cancer at him. But Ramakrishna didn't get into a victim mindset. He didn't come under this mode of, I am in pain. He was blissful even with that. So that's a very, very beautiful lesson. And he lived this teaching of Bhagavad Gita of Krishna, that you are empowered. Very nice. Let's go to the next one. I think it is related. So Anika, you can take it. Can you explain the message? For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. And for one who has failed to do so, the mind will remain the greatest enemy.
Yes, our higher self is our spirit soul, and our lower self is our mind. It is a profoundly beautiful concept of the self being the friend or enemy of the self keeping a watch on the self, and the self helping with the liberation of the self. Our intellect possesses the ability to control the mind. We must cultivate the intellect with proper divine knowledge and use it to guide our mind in the proper direction. Krishna is making it very clear that ultimately we are empowered to uplift ourselves or destroy ourselves. This is known as free will. In Pragma 1, it is said to recognize the saboteur within you, don't give in to it, confront it and vanquish it. Here our mind is the saboteur, which is meant to be our best friend. But if not controlled and purified, it can turn into our worst enemy. An uncontrolled mind is like a wild beast. It is restless, impulsive, and easily swayed by all desires. It constantly tries to pull us away from peace and fulfillment. And it's important to note Krishna doesn't advocate for eradicating the mind, but rather for mastering it. This can be done through spiritual practices like meditation, mindfulness, self-discipline, and we can make our mind our best friend. When the mind is conquered, finally, one voluntarily agrees to abide by the dictation of the personality of Godhead, who is situated within the heart of everyone as Paramatma. A controlled mind becomes a powerful tool for inner peace, wisdom, and self-realization. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I want to let everybody know that Anika ji doesn't just theorize, she also practices, and I'm very proud of her. She is the youngest student we have right now. 3 years ago, we had 3 young students, but only one of them persevered. So thank you, Anika, for continuing and inspiring all of us. Hare Krishna. May you inspire youngsters to again join and follow the teachings. So Krishna is going to be very happy with you. So in verse 6.10, Krishna starts explaining how to practice yoga. Can you recap what Krishna's recommendation is? I know Lakshmiji is traveling, but Lakshmiji, are you able to? Okay.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes, okay. Hare Krishna. The yoga is always 1. Practice connecting with the self in solitude, standing alone, discipline mind and spirit, free from desires and material possessions. In a pure and sacred place, establish a steady state for oneself, not too high, not too low, covered with cloth, deer-skin, and kusha grass. There, focusing the mind as one pointed with controlled thoughts and senses. Sit on the seat and practice yoga for the purification of the self. Keeping the body, head and neck aligned and still, gazing steadily at the tip of the nose without looking around, remain steady and unmoved. The prerequisite is calm and still. Krishna is explained the science of yoga here. The way it is meant to be explained, first location, then our inner state, seating. As per principles of yoga, our mind can be steady only if we can hold our body steady. The subject of the meditation should be Sri Krishna. You want to read a little more?
Or maybe we can go to the next question also, Lakshmi ji. And then towards the end, if you want to add more, we can revisit it.
Yeah, sure.
So Krishna's recommendation, he recommended the middle path for success in yoga, which is a continuation. So can you please explain that also?
Yeah, give me one second. Yoga is not possible for those who have extremes in sleeping and eating. One absorbed in yoga is free from longings for selfish desires. Yoga should be practiced with determination and without entertaining discouraging thoughts. Krishna says, we must practice moderation in eating, recreation, working, and sleeping in order to succeed in yoga. In 6.616 and 6.17, a very important truth has been conveyed to us. Extremes must be avoided and a middle path must be taken. Gautam Buddha also realized the same thing and called this is Madhyapada.
Very nice. Very nice, very nice. Yeah, so the middle path basically means avoid extremes in anything.
Yeah.
And there was this beautiful story of Gautama Buddha when he was trying to get enlightenment. He was trying to push his body. He was trying to do a lot of austerities. He was really pushing himself and he was feeling tired and he was figuring out what am I missing, and he's sitting under this tree and he sees those village women passing by with pots of water in their head and they are singing this song. The song says you have to tighten the strings of a tanpura if you want to make it sound good, but you don't tighten it too much, otherwise the strings will break. And that gives the aha moment to Buddha, and he says these illiterate women have taught me the secret of success in yoga is moderation. Very nice. When can the mind be said to be yukta? Sulataji, you want to do this?
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Guruji. Yeah, the mind is said to be in the state of yukta, that is established in yoga, when the chitta becomes fixed and focused exclusively on Atman. So, Krishna, how this state of yukta can be achieved and the importance of it is explained by putting various aspects together by Guruji. When we control our desires and also get rid of the cravings associated with the senses, using the technique Sama and Dhamma, the mind remains calm and can then be focused on Atman. It's vice versa. The more we focus on Atman, the more automatically we get away from our compulsive desires. And Samadhamma is nothing but we have understood previously. First, there are two steps. First step is where we physically attempt to restrain or moderate ourselves. That is by withdrawing sense organs from the sensory objects. Second step is we address the associated cravings in the mind by replacing the thoughts, by redirecting these thoughts to Krishna, that is replacing it with the thought of Krishna. Now, when the mind is in the state of yukta, it allows one to transcend the limitations of the ego and experience inner peace and liberation through self-realization. Krishna gives a beautiful example of a lamp which stays steady and does not flicker when it is protected from the wind. Just like that, a mind which has achieved the state of yukta receives protection from the desires and cravings and stays steady. This is the protection. The protection is assured by Krishna. When the mind thus reaches the state of yukta, it remains equipoised with no external desires and miseries tormenting it. And in turn, in this state of Sthita Prajna, we are able to see the self by the self and be satisfied in the self. And when we realize ourselves, we become more satisfied and contented and achieve the goal of yoga, that is union with God. Now, why there is a need of controlling our senses is logically explained by Guruji again. Atman cannot be realized by senses, that is, it cannot be perceived with our senses. The soul cannot be seen, touched, tasted, smelled or heard. It can only be realized. The senses therefore have no use when it comes to realizing the self, and instead they become strong distractions. So controlling the mind and senses and being free from desires and the cravings is essential for realizing Atman in this journey. Krishna says that this state of self-realization is the highest state that we should strive to achieve, and after attaining this state, we will feel like there is nothing better to achieve. So our mind itself will tell us that we have achieved the highest state. There is another assurance which Krishna has given. Once we reach this state, even the heaviest sorrows will not disturb us. Biggest natural calamities also will leave us not impacted. This state disconnects us totally from the miseries and infuses in us the eternal joy and bliss. So another aspect is of light and darkness, where light is referred to Brahman and darkness to Maya. As we know, darkness cannot overpower light, And previously, with the example of Ramakrishna, we have understood where the cave, which has remained in darkness for 100 years, is been illuminated with just by lighting a candle instantly. And likewise, it's up to us. We remaining in darkness, brooding over it, will not help. We need to act, and we need to strive for and march towards self-realization, which is nothing but the light referred here. So this can just wipe off the darkness for us. And
Nice.
there are a few verses which Krishna has given below, beautiful to explain the journey towards Yukta, by where controlling the mind and intellect is most important for realizing the Atman. From Katha Upanishad, Atmanam ratitam vidhi shariram ratamevu tu buddhim tu saratim vidhi mana pragrahamiva cham. Sorry for the pronunciation. Know the Atman as the Lord of the chariot, the body as only the chariot. Know also the intelligence as the driver. Know the minds as the reins. And from Srimad Bhagavatam, Savai Pumsam Parodharma Yato Bhaktir Adokshaji Ahatuki Apratihata Yayatma Suprasid. The supreme dharma for all humanity is that by which they can develop devotional service unto the transcendental Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated, uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. That is our main motto should be to find out means to please God with our selfless devotional service with consistency.
Hare Krishna, excellent. Thank you so much. Very well explained, Sulata ji.
Thank you.
I hope you are also on the path to Yukta. I hope all of us are getting there. Okay. So the next question is kind of very technical. So I'm wondering if I should just summarize it because we are running out of time. The next question was about Maya. Have everybody understood? Because we discussed a lot about Maya, the technical aspects of it. Does anybody have any questions? Or do you think you have understood what we explained about Maya? We said a few things. We said Maya comes from the word Ma in Sanskrit, which means measure. Because Maya, we said, has a very tough job. Maya's job is to take the infinite, measure the infinite, and create an illusion of something finite. So it's a very tough job that Maya has. So we discussed that, and we said that we discussed a lot of different things because Maya is not if you want to technically understand Maya, it's very complex. But if you want to understand it as a bhakti yogi, then all you need to know is Maya's job is to help you realize God. Now you should not get hung up on Maya. You should not let Maya. So Maya, how Maya helps you? Because Maya will create the troubles for you. And when you are in trouble, that is when we question. See, even now, when we have, stress at work, when we have bad health, when our finances are not good, what do? Hey Bhagwan, mujhe bacha lo. God, aap kahan ho? We think of God, right? Whenever we are in difficulties, we question God, we question the existence. We have so many questions. But what happens when we have good times? Guruji, let us take a break. Mujhe party mein jana hai. So when we have good times, if you always had only good times, then you're not going to really introspect. You're not really going to strive for God realization. See, that is why Maya is both the problem maker and also the helper. Maya, because that is Maya's job. Because Maya is not creating troubles just for the sake of troubling you. Maya is creating specific troubles for specific people because it knows who needs what kind of trouble to focus on something higher. So that is what I wanted to touch upon here. And there is this peace mantra we discussed. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. I would urge you to go and read it again along with the explanation. That gives an idea of the real nature of Supreme, where Supreme is infinite, infinitely perfect. It is perfection. So if you take perfect out of perfect, what remains is also perfect. If you take everything from that which is infinite, what remains is also infinite. Because where do you put what you take? It's a very funny concept, but it's very profound. You say it's infinite, that means everything is part of it. Now, you take something out of the infinite, so where do you put it? Wherever you put it is also part of the infinite only, right? So that is why they say when you take something out of the infinite, what remains is also infinite. So when you take perfection out of perfect, what remains is again perfection. Very, very profound concept. And so that is the nature of God, and Maya has to now create an illusion of something which is not perfect, illusion of something which is not infinite. Because that is how the game of the universe goes on. Okay, so if you have any specific questions, go ahead, let me know. Otherwise, we can go to the next question. And if you want, I can also revisit this topic in the next chapter, if it helps. Okay. For now, we need to understand Maya is extremely, extremely powerful because Maya is able to measure the infinite. What else can I say about Maya's power? Like, it can do that which seems impossible because it is God's own power. So we cannot try to fight Maya. What we need to do is acknowledge Maya and seek God's grace to overcome Maya. That is, in a nutshell, what we need to do as Bhakti Yogis here. And we need to keep in mind that although Maya is so powerful, Maya is not going to nuke everybody. If you are a bacha, if all you can do is fight with a stick, then Maya will fight with a slightly bigger stick. Now, if you are a powerful soldier, you can fight with a machine gun, then Maya will bring a bigger machine gun. You know, that is why I'm saying, if you think you are becoming Yuktaha, if you think you are becoming a yogi and you are advancing, then Maya will up its game accordingly. Then it will become more subtle, it will become more sophisticated. But the key is, no matter how powerful you think you are becoming, how much you think you are advancing, Maya is always there. Until you get complete God realization, you are not escaping from Maya. And that should keep us humble. That is the whole purpose of Maya. So keep that in mind. Okay. So meditation consists of two parts. Can you describe that, Chitraji? Or would you like me to say?
Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Meditation consists of two parts. First part is to ensure that the mind is not distracted by the various disturbances of the world. And the second part is to then fix or focus the mind on God. Both the parts are the cause and result of each other. One cannot exist in isolation. For a mind to not be distracted by Maya or material worldly gratifications, the easiest path is to focus the mind on God. That is through bhakti. And once one starts diverting the mind and focusing on God, it will gradually become free of distractions. This reminds me of a tree that looks like flourishing, doing well at one time. However, as the fall weather sets in, it sheds its leaves and all that it had gained in the entire year, all the leaves, branches, fruits, flowers, it surrenders itself completely to Mother Nature and then regain its own beauty right from scratch and gains new life as the spring weather comes in. Similarly, no matter how happy one may seem to be outwardly, unless and until they turn inwards and surrender themselves completely to God, that is by shedding one's desires, ego, attachment, pride, lust, anger, etc., the true eternal happiness cannot be achieved. And to reach this eternal state of bliss, meditation can play a big role.
Excellent. Nice example. Thank you, Chitraji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Can you explain the importance of being consistent in the practice of yoga? Deepaji, you said you are going to answer this.
So Shri Krishna is explained with the keyword satatam, which means constant practice. In simple words, being consistent. And he has repeated this multiple times in Bhagavad Gita, giving the importance of being consistent. Even in the Yoga Sutra, Patanjali mentions abhyasa, a consistent effort, as a key to mastering the mind. And the same is reiterated also in the Upanishads, that constant practice is the path to realizing the ultimate truth of the universe. Now, Sri Krishna has also taught us how to practice this. He has shared the key principles, the foundations of meditation as follows. That first one is the importance of solitude, ekaki. You should have self-control, yata chitta atma. We should have freedom from all desires, that is the nirasisha, and detachment, that is aparigraha. So in conclusion, the importance of being consistent in the practice of yoga, as per Sri Krishna, is that we will be able to achieve perfection. And once we perfect ourselves through yoga, one of the main outcomes is that we will get a sense of oneness and we will see oneness in everyone.
Very nice, very nice. Consistency is the key though. All of this practice you are talking about, we need to be consistent with that also. Like we took the example of going to a gym. People go to a gym because they want to build muscles. But you cannot say, I'm going to gym for 1 week, doing really hard work, and then I'm taking a break for 1 year. And then I'll come back and restart. You're not going to again start from where you left. You are going to start from much worse. So just like that, spiritual practice is like that. If you want to build the spiritual muscle, consistency is key. If you look at any story from the Puranas, you will always have somebody, some person sitting for like 100 years or 1,000 years, constant meditation. See, what they're trying to convey is the same message, that they don't emphasize on what mantra he was saying. The focus is not in that. The focus is whatever he was saying, he was being consistent. Because there are stories of people saying Om Namah Shivaya. There are stories of people saying Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. There are stories of people just saying Mara Mara. You see, so what mattered was they were consistent. And when you are consistent, you progress. Very important message for all of us here. So although we have taking a break next week, try to practice moderation. Don't go overboard. Okay. Can you explain the difference between self-realization and God realization? I think Poonamji is going to read the answer. Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing this work on behalf of Suchita.
Okay.
Nothing I've added to it, but I will summarize this afterwards in the new year.
Okay.
Okay, Guruji. Thank you for giving me an opportunity.
Sure.
When our mind becomes calmer, when our faith feels stronger, then our fears, when we feel an unnecessary level of inner bliss, we can say we are progressing. Shri Krishna says that when we are Shanta Rajasam, free from passion, and Akalamasham, sinless, then we will become Brahma Bhutam, endowed with realization of Brahma. At that stage, we will experience Sukham Uttamam, the highest bliss. A point to note is that Shri Krishna makes a distinction between Brahma Bhuta, self-realization, and Brahma Samarapsa, God realization. That is realization of Paramatma. Imagine you have 2 glasses of water. In one glass, you mix rose essence, and in the other, mix lemon concentrate. Now, the first glass starts calling itself rose water, and the second starts calling itself lemon water. Brahmabhuta, or self-realization for these 2 bodies of water, would be to realize that actually they are the same water that have been infused with different flavors. This is the vision of knowledge. Brahma Samasa, or realization of Brahman, would be for them to realize that they are the same as the absolute source of water on earth, which is the ocean. Once this realization happens, we no longer identify with our limited selves and get a feel of being in union with the divine, supreme, absolute Brahma. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So the term is Brahma Samparsa. Good. So what are the 6 actions given by Sri Krishna in chapter 6 for practicing Dhyana Yoga? You want to read that?
Yeah. Control and conquer the senses. Become free from all desires. Eliminate all the distractions caused by the senses. develop one pointed focus on God and God alone. Maintain that focus and think of God alone with an unwavering mind. Don't have any attachment and everyone with equal and see everyone with equal vision. Thank you.
Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. What does Arjuna feel about achieving success in Dhyana Yoga? I mean, these 6 steps Krishna gives, and then Arjuna, what does he say when Krishna talks about these 6 steps? Ekansh, do you think you can answer, or shall I answer for you?
Yes, Guruji, I can answer them.
Okay.
Yes, Guruji. So it is said that Arjuna goes on to say that the mind is very restless and turbulent, strong and obstinate. O Krishna, it appears to me that it is more difficult to control than the wind. Just see what Arjuna is saying here. He thinks it is easier to capture and control the wind than it is to control the mind. We are talking about one of the strongest men of Dwapar Yuga who says that he finds it almost impossible to control the mind. What to speak of us lesser mortals of Kali Yuga?
Yeah, very, very important lesson. Arjuna, Mahabaho, such a great warrior. He's saying,
Yes, Guruji.
how can I control the mind? It is so strong. And so we are all so much weaker than Arjuna. So the message is we need just extra humility. So approach it with a lot more humility. Not that I am great and I can do it, but because God, this is what I want to do, help me. With that mindset, we can control the mind. Okay, how can you achieve success in yoga? According to Krishna, Ekansh?
Krishna lays down 2 points here. First is practice. We have seen in previous verses as well the importance of being consistent with our practice of yoga. We also discussed how, like a screw that is being affixed to a wall, each time we overcome our difficulties and try again, we make more progress than the last time. And if we keep practicing this way consistently, then just like the screw, we will also eventually succeed in attaching our minds to God firmly. The second point Krishna says is detachment. It is very important to practice detachment because otherwise the mind will easily get distressed and never come under our control. Sri Krishna says that anyone who strives to progress using the method he has explained, who is consistent with the practice of yoga, can succeed in this path by practice and detachment.
Excellent. Thank you. So when Arjuna says, Krishna, you're talking about these 6 steps, but I don't think I can do it because the mind is just so hard to control. Then Krishna says, all I'm asking you is consistent practice and detachment. He says it may seem extremely difficult, but if you just do the practice consistently and also practice detachment, he says the mind will come under your control. So that is the advice given by the Mahayogi Krishna. And then what is Arjuna's next doubt? Okay, I will do what you are saying, I will try. But what happens if I fail before I reach the goal? Because you are saying, don't focus on material stuff. So I'm neither materially successful nor I'm spiritually successful. What is going to happen to me? That is Arjuna's thing. So how does Krishna answer that, Ekansh?
Krishna is explaining how the level which you reach while practicing yoga determines where you land up after death. Everyone who fails to succeed and attain liberation through yoga goes to higher planets after death. However, they will eventually have to be born again on earth. Now, if they had achieved only partial success in yoga during previous birth, they get born in a rich aristocratic family where they get to enjoy material benefits and afford to practice yoga again. However, if they had achieved higher success in yoga in previous birth and had developed detachment, then they will be born to families with great wisdom, like families of saints and sages. Krishna says that such a birth is very rare to get. A key point to be noted is that in both the cases, the person is born to a family which is conducive for the practicing yoga and restarting from where they left in their past work. We should understand that this desire to attain God consciousness is also a samskara. As we as we discussed earlier, samskaras are carried forward during every rebirth. So people who have strived to achieve the God consciousness have this strong samskara which goes with them to their next birth and there naturally they get drawn towards God. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Excellent. Thank you. If somebody has any questions on this answer, they can also raise their hands. Feel free. I want to make sure that when we start Bhakti Yoga, we don't have any doubts in our mind. That is one of the reasons why Krishna gives all this jnana before starting Bhakti Yoga. He doesn't want us to have those questions. When we are talking about Bhakti, we shouldn't come back and say, what about yoga? What about the mind? That is the whole point. So maybe one more question, and then if somebody has any questions on the answers or any other question we didn't cover, I'm happy to answer. So according to Krishna, which yoga is the most superior form of yoga and why? Chitraji, you want to take this?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. So among karma yogis, bhakti yogis, jnana yogis, ashtanga yogis, etc., Sri Krishna declares the bhakti yogi is be the highest, superior to even the best ashtanga yogis and hatha yogis. The ultimate goal of all forms of yoga is to help one lead the state of self-realization and liberation. Lord Krishna says that chanting his name and following the path of bhakti is the most easiest path to reach him. In order to achieve excellence in bhakti yoga, Shri Krishna guides you to surrender oneself to his devotee. Krishna loves even those who become devotees of the devotee. By surrendering oneself completely to such an esteemed devotee of Lord, who can be in the form of a guru, can help one lead to the ultimate path of bhakti eventually. Krishna says that those who are always engaged in his devotion are the highest kind of yogis, because bhakti is the only power that can bind God. This thus ends all the debates about which form of yoga is better, as Krishna confirms that without any doubt, bhakti yoga is the most superior form of yoga. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. I hope this is clear. I hope nobody has a doubt. I hope everybody is convinced that bhakti yoga is the most superior path, because it's like a shortcut. It directly takes you where you want to go. Okay. I got a little nostalgic because approximately 2 years ago, when we were revising chapter 6, previously we had an exercise where we asked the young students to figure out how many names of Krishna were used from chapter 1 to 6. And then we put together a table. I know Anika ji took part in that exercise as well. Anika ji, you want to read the names?
In verse 1.21, Krishna was referred as Achyuta, the infallible Lord who never fails in his affection for his devotees. 1.28, Krishna, the all-attractive one. 1.3, Keshava, the killer of the Keshi demon. 1.32, Govinda, Lord Govinda. 1.34, Madhusudana, the killer of the demon Madhu. 1.35, Janardana, maintainer of all living entities, killer of atheists, chastiseur of enemies. 1.36, Madhava, husband of the goddess of fortune. 1.40, Varsneya, descendant of Vrishni. 2.4, Arisudana, killer of the enemies. 4.6, Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Controller. 4.6, Bhutanam Ishvara, Lord of all living entities. 5.29, Maha Ishvara, the Supreme Lord. 5.29, Suhridam, the Benefactor. And last but not the least, 6.38, Mahabaho, Mighty Arm.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for this, Anika ji. Beautiful. So Hare Krishna, thank you so much. Very grateful to all of you for actively participating in this revision. I hope chapter 6 is clear now to all of you. If you still had any questions, I will keep the floor open for some time. Or if you had too many question answers, then I can wrap this session with blessings and best wishes for the new year. Deepaji, you had something?
I had a question on Maya. So can we call, how would it be right to categorize it as negative or a positive? I mean, like, it plays a very important role. So if we look at it, it creates the opportunity to come closer, but at the same time, it kind of makes it difficult as well. So how do you I mean, the one thing that is going on in my mind, is it positive, is it negative? Or like, you have to...
Yeah, but see, this is the fun. The fun aspect is negative and positive are also a result of Maya only. If there was no Maya, there is nothing positive and nothing negative. See, as we said, what is Maya's job? Maya's job is to Saguna Sakar, like take the Nirguna Nirakar and create a Saguna Sakar out of it. So when you say Nirguna, Nirakar, there is no guna. There is no good, bad, ugly. There is nothing. Right? So that is why one great philosopher said, there is nothing good or bad. It is your thinking that makes it so. Because, and one other great philosopher said, one man's poison is another man's food. So these are all things that all point us in the same direction. So the concept of good and bad itself is a result of Maya. So now you are asking, is Maya good or bad? It's like, it's just getting caught up in that game.
Yeah.
So let us not focus on good, bad, negative, positive. What we have to focus on is, there is a goal and there is an obstacle. Okay. And we need to understand that the entity that is creating the obstacle is creating the obstacle so that we can become stronger and succeed. That is the only way to look at it. But because the goal is so high, the goal is such a huge goal.
Yeah.
So we need to constantly be aware of this Maya, which is always going to keep testing us, because only those who really consistently practice are eligible for that achieving the ultimate goal. So itna yaad rakhna bas. And you have to remind yourself that whenever I feel, this is what I tell myself, whenever I feel that I looks like I am succeeding, then I tell myself, oh man, that thought itself has now brought me down. So that is the game. The game is always stay humble. That is why Krishna says, the most important is throw your pride away, because the pride is always going to invite Maya into your life. No pride, no ego. If you can practice that, you can be relatively safe from Maya. And I still remember last time when we practiced, it was Chitraji's son Anish, who gave us this example. He said, you can, all these various yogas can take us till the gate. But from the gate, if you have to actually go inside and meet the boss, then you need the grace of God, And at that point, you just have to surrender. It's like, that big ferocious dog which is there barking at you, threatening to bite you. It is standing near the gate. You cannot fight it because that dog is a lot more powerful than you. All you have to do is tell the owner, oh Krishna, take care of this dog. And Krishna has to just say, Tommy, chew, or Tommy, you, whatever. And the dog becomes quiet. That's the only way. So that is why Bhakti Yoga, we say, is powerful because of this. Because then we recognize the power of Maya, we recognize what we are fighting against, and we recognize that the only way to win is through the grace of God. And how to achieve that grace is Bhakti Yoga. Now you can either understand this through Jnana, you can understand this through Ashtanga, or you can just believe and have faith through Bhakti. See, that is the whole. So next year we can start the auspicious part of Bhagavad Gita, which is the Bhakti Yoga part. So with it, my best wishes and blessings for a happy new year. Stay safe. And thank you
Happy
once
New Year
more.
to everyone. Hare Krishna.
Happy New Year.
Jai
Happy.
Sai Ram.
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Yeah,
Happy
very
New Year,
happy that I'm
everyone.
able to.
Happy New Year, Satsang Ram.
Also enjoy. Guruji, you and Kalpana also enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
Guruji, I want to
Merry
tell you about the Maya she was telling, no? The Maya.
Mhm.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Maya she was telling means I'm not able to write my answers in the Google Sheet. I was trying till yesterday night itself. I couldn't be able to do it. I don't know. Just I wrote it on a paper, and then what to do, because I have to come to my village for that annual function and everything, and then Abhishek in the temple. No, it's a family deities temple. No. So I don't know, but whether you believe it or not, I turned on my video just so that the internet should be known. That's I turn on my video. My question was there, and then that's a Maya because I want to do it because the Maya didn't allow me to write it on that. It makes me, but that's why I'm telling to overcome the Maya, we have to struggle. But Bhagavan will bless me to read my answer by myself. No, that's the thing I wanted to say.
Yeah. Stay blessed, Lakshmi ji. Stay blessed, and thank you for sharing all this interesting.
Yeah, that's the phone. This is our. You can see these are all the village.
Yes, yes.
Like so many things are there. So anyhow, thank you very much. Thank you for
Thank you. Thank you.
giving
In
an
spite of
opportunity.
being in rural India, you are connecting. Very inspiring. Thank you, Lakshmi ji.
Okay, sure.
Thanks for the blessings. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Wish you a
Krishna,
happy
Guruji.
New
Hare
Year.
Krishna.
Hare
Krishna, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Hare Krishna. Happy New Year to everyone.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New
Hare
Year.
Krishna. Happy New Year. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye. Hare
Bye.
Krishna.
Bye.